Well, here I am live on Facebook, streaming to YouTube and LinkedIn with my one of my favorite mugs here. My chickens think I'm amazing. Isn't this cute? My sister gave this to me, and I have my sister earrings on. So I wanted to hop on here today. It's just me. I've been having lots of really fun guests lately on my Facebook Lives, and there will be many more college consultants and teachers and parents, and perhaps even some students who found transformative success with really drilling down to how can they get an A on an English class paper? How can they write their college or graduate school essays with ease by following our processes and systems? So excited to be here. Happy 2024. And I wanted to start off with this question. I want you to picture yourself, it's a year from now. So can you believe it, 2025? And all of the dreams, all of the visions for happiness and success and well-being and health and wealth and laughter that you have right now have come true. And they've come true not only for you, but for your children. Specifically, my audience is teenagers and young adults. So it's a year from now, and everything you can dream of, all of the things, right? The fitness, the ease with which you can talk to your kids, the ease with which they can work through difficulties like taking the SAT, or like working through a difficult, conflict in a class, or like working through challenges with a relationship. They step into that with greater ease than they've ever had before. Your teens get better grades without you hounding them than they ever had before. And you think of your own self, your own goals. Well, I think it's a great time to be reflective and really drill down and really write about what those goals are. Where are you now? And then how do you get to where you want to go? So I'm committed to improving my life this year. And I know sometimes I get a little overwhelming for my own family when they don't write down their goals and really step into how are they going to improve things. And I think the first step is to admit what we want to improve, and that can be really difficult. And I know that can be difficult for you too, parents. When you see things that your son or daughters they need to do in order to, create a more well-rounded life. I know a lot of my audience, a lot of my parents are super hyper focused on their kids getting into the best colleges that they want to. So I thought I would just take you through some really practical, easy steps that I use that I've found success with. And, really overall, I'm a firm believer in small, tiny, microscopic changes and small, tiny steps with commitment create big results. And I'm also a firm believer, and I tell this to new parents that start to work with total writing and new teens who they want writing to become so much easier. They want to get better grades on their English class essays and eventually to write beautiful, genuine college admissions essays. It's this. It's what you do now will pay off it depends on the skill or the habit, in 3 months' time. Right? So if you put a lot of focus into you go out for one run, but then you feel sore and you feel exhausted unless you consistently dedicate yourself to running, you're probably not going to see a payoff. It's the same thing with English class, right? First of all, are you really understanding the literature? Are you really understanding the reading comprehension? Are you really committing yourself to annotating in your text? Right? So what are all of the things? And I wish so badly I could. I sat down with all of you parents and all of total writing students and students who are soon to become total writing students, and to take the time to do an analysis because the time flies by, right? So I just had a meeting and with my accountant, and we both said, I can't believe we're well into January at this point. And that's just the way it goes. So it's super important, I think, for teens as they're becoming young adults to develop these habits Because as you know, parents, think of all the things that you want to change. I think it's more difficult for us to learn a new skill and for us to stop a habit that is not serving us or our families when we do become older. It still can be done, right? As my mom used to say, Amy, you can do anything within reason that you put your mind to. But anything that you put your mind to. So, um, where is your teen as far as who you're the most concerned about? Can you, put pen to paper and get all the things out as far as areas that they need to improve upon? I mean, here are a few. Here are headlines in the news when I type in like college admissions. There's a lot going on right now with the effectiveness of the standardized tests as far as predicting students' success. And so a couple years ago, a lot of colleges pulled out and said they were test optional. Well, a lot of colleges are rethinking that now and saying, actually, the data shows, and I know this is very controversial and it doesn't apply to every student, but a lot of data shows the higher the test score, the greater the aptitude. Now, a lot can happen in life that can get in the way of the greater the aptitude of a student performing well and succeeding in college. Grades, how to earn better grades if the content is difficult, if the teen does not get along or does not like the teacher, right? Or the teacher isn't teaching. That's a big one, right? That's a whole Facebook Live. The teacher's expectations are here, the curriculum demands of the students are here, but is the teacher able to scaffold the lessons, the writing, the math, the foreign language, and actually help the students reach their goals? Another headline, like which college actually is best for your teen? We as parents have an idea based on our lives, based on what we've seen, based on what we've experienced, but which college is actually best for our children where we know that they'll be happy? To what extent should my child become involved with sports? Even if my child can play a sport in college, should they, right? The old saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Sometimes, but how do you know that? And finally, financing a college education and teaching our own kids about budgeting and healthy financial well being. My point is this: there's so much thrown at us as parents and thrown at our students and our children. So, how are we supposed to make sense of this? Well, what I like to do, it's just simple 4 steps. And I'll put these in the notes when I'm done talking here. And if you're watching this on the replay, please say hello. Please feel free to post a comment, to post a question. I know that oftentimes I hop on here and there are very few people watching, but I know that the analytics show within 48 hours, I have a lot of viewers. So if you're catching a glimpse of this and you do have a question about any of these, college admissions, teens and happiness, college success, young adult success, graduate school, please feel free to ask me a question here. You can also message me on Facebook. So here is what I love to do. I learned this from my days in the consulting world. So a lot of people don't know that before I was a teacher, I actually was a business consultant in the change enablement group, the people side of business. And there were a lot of parts of it that I loved. And clearly I wanted to get out and become a teacher. So I like to glean, as I'm sure a lot of you do, whether it's a vacation or an experience or work experience, the skills and processes and procedures that I think apply to other areas of life. So number one, it's super powerful, number one, to assess the current state. I know from my own experience, a lot of teenagers are reluctant to do this. I think it's difficult to look at reality in the face and to say, well, this habit, let's just say, scrolling on my Instagram or Snapchat until 11 o'clock at night when I have 3 assignments to complete, that's not in my best interest, right? I think it's, in my best interest to say like, well, I really shouldn't put extra butter on my toast if I have high cholesterol. So what is the current state in all the areas that are important in your life and your teen's life? What's going on? I mean, truly, don't you agree? That's 50% of improving your life is to admit the reality of what's going on. And sometimes it's difficult for us to do that. And that's where we need outside help. So number two is, And I think this is a mix of even before number one, like decide what it is you want. Do you want to get straight A's? Do you want to boost your SAT scores? Do you want to increase your community service? Do you want better friendships? Do you want your jeans to fit a little bit more comfortably? Do you want to feel better rested when you wake up? Like, what is it that you want? I am really frustrated by the hustle and bustle of every day and spinning and running on the treadmill without having a place to go. There's so much hustle and bustle, but what is it that you and your teens really want? So to decide where you are now and where you want to go. And then, of course, the real work is, well, how are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? And in our little niche of the world, that is, well, how can I get at least a B, if not an A in English class? How do I get an A on a lit analysis essay? How do I choose the best college admissions essay topic or graduate school admissions topic? Right. And so, what we'll do is help map out a plan for your son or daughter to actually reach their goals that falls under the umbrella of, academic writing, creating a strategy, because that can be really, really intimidating, especially when you have 12 other things going on. And then I think number 4 is where I've been seeing a lot in news headlines lately. Have you heard of this? It's like, do the verb, forget the noun. So it's commit and take action. So a lot of teens and parents, all of us, want the end result, right? Want the A, want the acceptance, want the fit figure, right? But aren't willing to commit to the action. And I know it's not easy. I know there are a lot of challenges, right? But are not willing to step into, or they start, right? Just like everyone going to the gym in January, but then obstacles get in the way, fear gets in the way when things get tough, and what happens? Well, we quit. So that big C word, that big commit, even if things aren't perfect, even if you're scared, I think is what separates the A's from the B's from the C's, right? It's committing and it's following through. And oftentimes it is going for the B. Oftentimes going for the B, especially for a lot of perfectionists that come our way, especially for a lot of those that are paralyzed by analysis. Know any of those? Going for the B is the best mantra you can put in between your ears in that brain. Like, oh, I'm just so slow. I'm not going to swim, or I'm not going to go run. Or I just can't get like the Pilates movement or the workouts. I'm terrible at coordination. Just go for it anyway. Right. And so I think this is true for students also. There's no failure, only life lessons. And if we can build from what is uncomfortable, from where we did make mistakes, the next time we step into it, you're guaranteed for it to be better, right? So I wanted to hop on here today. I know there's a ton going on with 2024 and New Year's and goals and college admissions, and to what extent is the SAT, ACT going to impact college admissions? To what extent is grades going to? There's a lot of shuffling going around, and I think one of the most important things to do is to focus on your goals, to help your kids identify where they are, and then to map out a plan. And even above all else, when you feel scared, that's when you need to step into it, as long as you or your teen won't get hurt. When you feel hesitation, that's exactly your calling, to become so comfortable to go talk to that cranky, mean teacher who's probably not really mean anyway, right? To become so comfortable to increase your workout, even if you're going to be huffing and puffing, even if you're going to feel sore. When you're scared, especially if there's a better result on the other side, and I think this is so true for our teenagers, that's exactly when you need to go for it. So thank you for watching. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to post them here. Feel free to message me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'm trying to have a greater presence on LinkedIn. And I enjoy this so much. I enjoy serving you parents and college consultants out there and helping them with writing services, ultimately to help this world be a little bit nicer, a little bit easier for our teens and families. So thank you and Happy New Year, and so much more to come this year. I'm super excited. Thanks for joining me.